a breeding ground for music.
For me, that was like it. It was Arsenio and Soul Train.
So I was just booking stuff that I liked, trying to produce the show that didn't exist, the one I wanted to see.
It's a beat to the old dub, but you wow, even your girl. Fall in love when I smell the type of little guy you ain't seen in a while. Ignore the hype, just right for your side.
Suge Knight came by the office one day and he said, I got a kid with me, I want him to rap. Brought Lil Bow Wow in, and Lil Bow Wow rapped, and also Lil Bow Wow was from Ohio, so I had an affection for him.
Once he came out there, he just took over the whole show like a little star that he was.
We couldn't believe the language that came out of that boy.
He was itty bitty Bow Wow. Oh, the audience went nuts. The audience went nuts on every level. The kid could move, he had style, he had flow, he knew his lyrics. You know, success is all about preparation and opportunity meeting. I gave him the opportunity, he had the preparation.
It was fun looking back at it, watching him, seeing the little kid, do, what he wanted to do, which he wanted to be me so bad. And I didn't really realize how much influence I had on him until he got older and, time went by. But at that time, it was just fun to see somebody, emulate me and try to do what I was doing.
Maya Angelou is, we know her as this incredible poet, this dignified, classy woman. She's also one of the hippest ladies you ever met.
Seen my lady home last night. Jump back, honey, jump back. Held her hand and squeezed it tight. Jump back, honey, jump back. Yeah. Heard her sigh, that little sigh. Saw that light gleam in her eye. Saw a smile go flitting by. I say, jump back, honey, jump back. Woo!
When she broke into a rap, because that wasn't planned, she, I think, felt that because of the persona of the show, this would be a wonderful thing for my audience, and that's how smart she is.
Arms around her waist. Jump back, honey, jump back. Yes. Raised her lips and took a taste. Jump back, honey, jump back. I said, love me, honey, do you love me true? You love me as well as I love you? And then she answered, of course I do, but jump back, honey.
I put Maya Angelou on because of things I'd read in college, and because I could.
She gave a poise and credibility and sophistication to the show.
And to put Maya Angelou on was what the show was about. It's that stuff that the others won't do. That's what I enjoyed doing most. That's what I took the most pride in.
Lenny Kravitz is one of my all-time favorite success stories.
Mr. Cab Driver won't stop to let me in. Mr. Cab Driver don't like my kind of skin.
Lisa Bonet, who he was married to at the time, was a guest on our show. He handed me a tape and just said, "This is my husband, Lenny Kravitz." And I thought, okay, because it didn't come from a record company at that point. And I listened to it, and he was great. And then his record came out, and we booked him. So he made his debut on Arsenio's show.
Lenny liked the show because it was this place where he could do his thing, and I wasn't booking him because he was #1 on the pop charts or the R&B charts. I was booking him because I thought what he did was quality. In show business, you make choices, and you got to decide what's most important, being true to yourself or making money. Sometimes they don't work hand in hand. Lenny Kravitz is a wonderful story because he was true to himself, and then the money came anyway.
Mr. Cab Driver, you, I'm a survivor. Here we go.
If I get to heaven, I'm sure God will say, what would make you let someone sing Funky, Funky Christmas on your show anyway? Donnie Wahlberg knew that I had done this comedy rap album. And he said, just take a verse from the comedy rap album and stick it in Funky Funky Christmas. Because I was like, there's no way I'm going out there with New Kids on the Block. When somebody asks you and you say you're not coming, if you ever get your own talk show, know that that means if they can find you in the building, you're gonna come. So just be ready. You say no, but they're gonna drag your ass out there. And they did. And I took a breath and tried to flow.
I'm taking over the new kids game. Don't challenge me, because that would be insane. I'm incredible. I make you think and make you laugh. LL Cool J asked me for my autograph.
Well, I loved in general when Arsenio rapped with the band or sang or anything like that, and we never rehearsed that. But Arsenio is a musical guy.
When Arsenio rapped freestyle with them was great, you know? Watching the audience, they were so into it and they loved it. It was just so much fun, and then to see him get involved and do that.
When he had the opportunity or it made sense, he'd never want to upstage a guest, but when it made sense, every now and then he just kind of jumped into the action.
I'm the best, and that's the fact. I got more white moves than any black linguistic specialist I saw. A kid with a groove that slam, I can do anything. Funky Christmas. Funky Christmas.
Every day last week I'm out of place to go. The tattoo had me just like a fancy show.
What your drummer said?
What?
He said if this music thing doesn't work out, you can always run for president.
So turn 'em on, woo, turn 'em on, turn on those sad songs. When all hope is gone, tune in, turn them on. It's just like
I passed on some great talent. I remember she had to beat me into submission over Radiohead because I wasn't hip to it.
I had to do some convincing to say, you know, let's book these guys, let's give them the debut on our show.
What she usually had to do was get me to listen, you know, because I was set in my ways, and she gave me a Radiohead tape.
you're so very special. But I'm a
And I came in the next day and said, well, why didn't you tell me that it was like this? You know, because they were bad.
Guess there are times when we all need to share a little pain.
When I was a kid, one of the things I remember was seeing Elton John on Soul Train. That made me respect him.
Memories remain.
And I may be wrong about this, but it said something about the man to me as a young brother. It said something about the man that he knew black people were feeling the soul in his music.
We already know. Turn on, turn on the sad song.
I remember he was one of the guys I really wanted to interview and I really wanted to have on my show.
He's got quite a lot of stuff back here, folks. You got 6 different flavored condoms.
Turn on, turn on the sad song.
I've always dug Elton John, you know? Innovator, soulful little white man from across the ocean.
So turn 'em on, woo, turn 'em on, turn on those sad songs. When all hope is gone, tune in, turn them on. You know they're reaching to your room. Ooh, feel that gentle touch. When all hope is gone, sad songs is on the
You don't have to be black to get my attention. You just have to be good. And there is nothing gooder than Sting. When did you discover Hendrix?
I was 14 and the Jimi Hendrix Experience had come to my hometown of Newcastle. He was the first black guy I ever saw in person.
You think everybody knows a lot of black people. And when Sting presented that revelation, I guess I was shocked.
He was like 6 foot tall, he had an afro haircut.
Yeah.
He was dressed like something from another planet.
Whatever it is, that girl put a spell on me.
I'm a huge Sting fan. So I was at a point where if Sting wanted to do a puppet show that night, I would have let him. He wanted to pay tribute to Hendrix, and that's how we rocked.
Tomorrow or just the end of time.
If he didn't think it was hot or going to be hot, then I don't think he would have, friendship or not, I don't think he would have done it.
Face called me about TLC. I never met TLC. I just trusted Face.
Yeah, he had business to run. These tiny little girls going at it hard. The saggy pants at the time, and left eye had, I'm sure she wore the condom over the left eye. And so
TLC had condoms hanging all over everywhere, and my staff thought I was crazy anyway, so they just humored me and said, okay, whatever you want.
So yo, getting back to this dude with the foul attitude, shoot, he made another bad move, saying that girl shouldn't wear, he can go take a hike.
It was their first television performance. They were fantastic.
Never talked about them damn finger waves, tight pants and tureens in his ear. You know that it's dead, but it's me instead.
Face knows talent. I mean, he's the guy that brought me such greats as Tony Braxton.
Babyface brought Toni Braxton out for the first time, and that was her television debut, and she was unbelievable.
The Toni Braxton appearance is just one of those things where you have tremendous respect for Babyface.
we were fortunate enough to have a working relationship with him where he at least liked the acts that we put on, and if it was even with my performance, he was always happy with the production that we would bring to it, and so it worked for him, so it worked for us.
I was there for him because he's a genius and he never let me down. So therefore, he was there for me.
I know that Arsenio liked Toni Braxton. I can clearly remember him making comments, something like, Baby Got Back.
Let me put it like this. It's the first show I ever watched from behind the curtain.
That was really kind of like the true beginning of her career.
First time I ever saw the Chili Peppers play was locally in Los Angeles. I don't remember what club it was, but I booked them immediately.
The acts started wanting to come do the show because we had the greatest sound, the greatest lighting, and it was fun.
Before the show even started, I did a lot of research to find the best sound people I could find.
A lot of artists wanted to do Arsenio because they knew he would provide a warm atmosphere for them.
I'd go find Stevie Wonder's sound guy and ask him to come to my show and hear a test run. I started getting calls from labels asking whether they could use the performance on the show as the video for the artist. And that was the ultimate compliment.
Ooh, ooh, ooh. You are through. One thing that embedded in my brain was that this guy is, he's pretty racial.
Yeah, ain't nothing between me and you but air and opportunity.
I did my best. I mean, I tried, but I just couldn't inhale it.
Rock with you. Later in the night, you know I'd like to pursue something real sexy and nice. That's why they call me Vanilla Ice.
In all fairness to my audience, when you talk about Vanilla Ice, I was mad at Vanilla Ice before the interview started.
At first, I was a little skeptical about going on the show and whatnot. I was like, but I really didn't know what to, what to expect or anything.
You have been embroiled in a lot of controversy. The press has been really hard on you lately, saying that you lie about your background.
I mean, that's all old news. I didn't lie about
But
nothing.
I haven't interviewed you, so it's new news for my audience, so let's get into it.
I thought he was a little hard on him. He was venomous.
I've heard stories about me lying about where I came from and everything, and I never lied. Let me just tell you, when the record company creates all this stuff, bios around you, and, they have your own publicists and everything, they create this image, okay? This image. And it's easy to hate on that image because it's a novelty act image, I was kind of thrown into this new kids with snot category,
Vanilla Ice, there were questions they didn't want me to ask, and I said, look, there are certain questions I have to ask. Otherwise, just perform and don't come to the couch. And Vanilla Ice's way of avoiding all those questions and all those lies that we were dealing with all day was to come on, and when we started to interview, start introducing people.
I want to bring a homeboy of mine out here. Flavor Flav.
What was the relationship between, Flavor Flav and Vanilla Ice? There was none.
And it's like, it was annoying.
He probably thought Flavor Flav would sit down next to him and help him out with the interview, because Arsenio often would say, oh, come on, why don't you join us? But Arsenio didn't want to have any of that night.
Now, do you mind waiting for us over there while we do this interview, please?
And I think the specific thing that bothered me about the introduction of Flavor Flav as one of his boys was I talked to Chuck D.
I invited Flavor Flav out there because he was just with me. We had been partying the night before, and I thought it would be great for Arsenio and his show.
Chuck D is the front man for Public Enemy. Chuck D said, we don't hang with Vanilla Ice. I mean, I ain't got nothing against Vanilla Ice, but Vanilla Ice is not one of our boys, And so I realized I was being tricked. I was being played. And it was to avoid the interview. Hey, just don't do the interview.
Yeah, he was pretty cold towards Vanilla. That was one of the few times I saw him actually get into it with somebody. They kind of sort of got into it. They started going back and forth.
Arsenio was feeling that, what are you trying to prove? Are you bringing, a black rap artist out to show that you're cool and hip, even though you're white? And he denied that.
Is that why you brought him out, just to show you have a black supporter? And
No, I brought him out because he's a friend of mine.
And that was one of the few times I heard the crowd boo something Arsenio said.
They don't like that, man.
That don't bother me. I'm not liked by a lot of people a lot of times,
Me
but
too.
I say what I want to say
So do
because
I.
I'm an American. I have that right.
They booed him. And I go, wow, they just booed you, man, on your own show. And he goes, that's okay. I get booed by a lot of people. It doesn't bother me. And I'm like, obviously it does bother you. You wouldn't get us so excited,
When Vanilla Ice came off, it was one of these kind of things. So what you gonna do? So what you gonna do? So what you gonna do? So what you gonna do?
Yeah, I had asked him, I said, what's the deal, man? Why do you want to come after me like that? And he says, well, I'm just, basically not a fan of it, And basically what I got out of the whole thing, I don't remember word for word because it's been a long time exactly what happened, but one thing that embedded in my brain was that this guy is, he's pretty racial.
Yeah, ain't nothing between me and you but air and opportunity, What you gonna do?
Arsenio Hall show, at first I was a fan,
What you gonna do?
And then I became definitely not a fan of the show, especially after I did the show.
It wasn't serious, it was stupid showbiz. It was two rich guys not getting along, which America has no tolerance for.
Today I can look back at it and just laugh at the whole thing, and I really do, man. I like Arsenio Hall, people mention that to me, I just bust out in a laugh,
It was obvious that he didn't like Vanilla Ice.
I don't apologize to Herman Van Winkle or whatever his name is.
Figure it out on your own, it's a no-brainer. The guy was out to get me.
Wake up! I'm in love, girl. I'm so in love, girl.
anything I do, usually in my business life and my personal life, is for a laugh first. It's all about humor. I had some jokes about Milli Vanilli because behind the scenes, me and some friends were laughing because we had been told that they didn't sing.
Milli Vanilli!
There will be no Milli Vanilli in here. Huh?
Not in this building.
You hit my weakness, Milli Vanilli.
I loved all the Milli Vanilli material. I loved it. I thought it was great. It was harmless, especially when it turns out that they really were lip syncing and pretending that they weren't.
Memo to Milli and Vanilli if you're watching. Girls, you know it's true. Ooh, ooh, ooh. You all through.
I think the funny thing about the whole Milli Vanilli outing is I'm not sure who's who, but I think it was Vanilli. I don't know. It was Milli or Vanilli. One of them came to stage 29 at Paramount to kick my ass after I did the joke about them not singing, you know? And the one thing that's never gonna happen to me is getting my ass kicked by someone named Milli. Suge, but not Milli. The women that booked my show might have been serious about pursuing Clinton, but when we first discussed it, I automatically assumed it would be a really quick no.
Our talent executive came and said that we got Bill Clinton on the show, and I said it was great.
I said, you mean George Clinton? They said, no, Bill Clinton. I'm like, he said yes, because I told him to put the offer out. I'd always say, put the offer out. All they can say is no.
And she goes away, and about 3 minutes later, she comes back and she says, and he wants to play the saxophone.
So then I started thinking, well, don't stop there, you know? Can I sleep with Hillary? Bill Clinton is like the third sax player in everybody's high school marching band. He gets the song done, but it's not pretty.
Did you ever think about playing professionally?
What your drummer said?
What?
He said if this music thing doesn't work out, you can always run for president.
But the fact was that the governor, who was going to become president, who knew, was playing sax on my show and letting me do jokes about him standing behind me.
It's good to see a Democrat blowing something other than the election. I know you've been through this a billion times, but can we get into the smoking the joint thing again?
Oh, man. I still don't know why he doesn't just say, hey, I got high.
Okay, you got the joint in your hand.
I bet you burned me.
You know what I'm saying? Okay, somebody says, you know, that word EAR, you all heard it in college, ear. And,
I mean, I wasn't trying to get a good conduct medal for saying I didn't inhale. I was just nervously pointing out that it was another one of those things I tried to do and failed at in life.
What we did with Clinton changed the way candidates campaign. And the Arsenio Hall show had a lot to do with that.
if there's something that America probably remembers about my show, no matter who you are, what your age, what your socioeconomic bracket, it's probably Bill Clinton. Was a thing that Anna Nicole Smith let me do that was, let me say, mammary inspired. Memories. A lot of crazy stuff happened on my show. Some things were planned. Most just happened.
I don't know why you just don't tell them the truth. I mean, tell them that I'm having your baby.
In every big woman, there's a thin one trying to get out. Well, I ate that bitch.
What's your view on drugs?
I think drugs are terrible. Unless you have some. Do you have some?
The funniest moment on my show seems to be when something happens to me.
He fell slam down on his rumpa-tumpa right out here. I was crying. I was
We were off the page a lot, and I think that's what made the show really good.
Sit.
Wait.
Wait.
Open your mouth.
Open your legs.
Open.
Tom Cruise beat me this year for best dress. What the hell is going on?
I am the Vidal Sassoon of late night, and And our motto is, if you don't look good, we don't put your ass on camera.
He's a fashion statement. He's a statement in general. And you got to understand, anytime you're on TV and you got that many people watching, you have to do things to keep them watching.
Mostly, I was on the verge of a fashion nervous breakdown.
It's funny because during that time, you know, we thought when he wore his suits, it was cool, and when he wore all the jackets, but to look back and look at it now, I mean, I think he would say this too. You look and go, what were we all thinking?
One word to define my style.
Arsenio fashion style was popping.
I thought he dressed sharp. I thought he was fly.
The proud peacock. Classy with just a hint of trash.
Fabulous.
Eclectic.
I've never even looked at his sense of fashion, man. It was overpowered by his long finger.
Very hip. Ever-changing.
Arsenio was styling. I remember him wearing purple suits and, you know, purple suits, red suits, or whatever. It's cool. They're very colorful, you know, it's all right.
He bridged many gaps, and, you know, he took a lot of chances.
I love him and love what he's done for us and what he's done for the music.
Really, really great guy, and, you know, one of my all-time favorite shows.
The show was a reflection of him.
He was on the cover of Time magazine, you know? I mean, it was that much of a trendsetter.
When people ask me my opinion about being a launching pad for all these different people, I have to be honest with you. I didn't realize how important my show was until I did this VH1 special. I had forgotten about Suge Knight and Bow Wow sitting in my office. I had forgotten about the Fresh Prince and Jazzy Jeff. That show is in a capsule. And what I didn't do in that 5 years will never get done.
So I would never steal a man's woof woof, but Arsenio, woof woof.
We never did that.
We never did that.
Woof, 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 woof.
Woof, 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 woof.
That's about as close as I can do.
It goes to 1,